come 2024, we want to win. We want to beat Biden or the Democrats, whoever they're running. And we know, it's just a factual statement, polling-wise, we are worse off with Trump as our nominee than with somebody else. So I just think it's going to be palpable in 2024 that because we want to win and beat the Democrats, we know as a party we're better off with somebody else to be our nominee to more guarantee a victory because we know we lose with Trump.
That was former House Speaker Paul Ryan talking about the Republicans, where the party stands going into 2024 elections. Before then, we have to go first to the midterms. Economic indicators that best predict the fate of the Democratic Party are pointing to a gloomier outlook than desired. For more on this, we have Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman, who's on top of the latest poll numbers. I mean, exactly what the former House Speaker was also pointing to, saying he's feeling pretty good. I guess the question is, if the Republicans take the House, how big will that majority be?
Right. And we're getting closer to what might look like a red wave. That seemed to be receding just a month or 6 weeks ago. Now it seems to be going the other way. So I saw an interesting piece of analysis. Everybody's been focused on gas prices, us and everybody else. The Biden White House follows this almost by the minute. And those have come down. That has worked out for President Biden, now around $3.80, well below $4 a gallon. Moody's Analytics has an interesting piece out, and they say there's a strong correlation, not so much between gas prices, but between what happens with real disposable income, real incomes adjusted for inflation a month or two or three before the election. And by this measure, things look terrible for Biden. Real incomes, depending on how you measure it, but on a year-over-year basis, almost at record lows. And there's some COVID distortion in there, but you can kind of factor that out. And what's happening is the rate of inflation is now 8.2%. Paychecks are only going up by about 5%. So inflation is just going up way more than pay. So people really are falling behind. Purchasing power is falling behind. That does not normally happen. That's really unusual. And that is probably what voters mean when they say they're really concerned about the economy. Yes, gas prices, but a lot of other things, too.
Yeah, and it sort of comes down to, well, how much of my wallet is taking a hit every time I go out and buy groceries? Forget the fact that the labor market's strong. You know, that's not necessarily how voters sort of break things down. There's an interesting headline that came out yesterday. The progressive wing of the House Democrats putting out a letter essentially calling for a shift in the stance for what's playing out between Russia and Ukraine, essentially saying that there shouldn't be a blank check. There should be some kind of negotiation. I mean, this is a shift from where the Biden administration has been pushing for. What's the strategy here?
Well, I don't know if there is a strategy. This makes my head explode. It's ridiculous and it's really stupid. And I think the 30 Democratic progressives who signed this really wish that this letter had never gone to the White House and they started walking it back right away. Basically, what they're saying is, let's continue to think that there could be a diplomatic solution here and that we could somehow negotiate with Putin. Putin himself could have written that letter. And the reason is Ukraine's army is kicking Russia's ass on the battlefields inside Ukraine. So, of course, Putin would like to say, hey, before we lose any more territory, let's see if we can negotiate a solution here, which in theory would keep Russian forces occupying the parts of Ukraine they already have. And Ukraine has momentum, and they've been making a lot of progress. The Russian army, by some measures, is falling apart in Ukraine. So, no, this is not a time when you would negotiate with Putin, who is dishonest and is a thief anyway. I mean, he wouldn't live it. So Putin would love to cement all his gains through some kind of negotiation with the United States. So what these 30 Democrats did is they kind of weakened President Biden's hand. And the moment this letter became public, you had a lot of other Democrats, mainstream Democrats, saying, this is all wrong. This is all wrong. Now, of course, Republicans are happy to sit back and let Democrats, score an own goal, as you would say in soccer, 2 weeks before the midterm elections. This was just a completely foolish move.
Yeah, and especially ahead of the midterms, where we've already heard some Republicans saying that maybe we're not going to give a blank check to Ukraine. So a debate that will continue. Rick Newman, as always, thanks so much for that.